social media, a possible starting point, at least for me, could be the notion of the disappearance of the social, as described by Jean Baudrillard in 1985, the French sociologist who theorized the changing role of the subject as consumer. According to Baudrillard, at some point the social lost its historical role and imploded into the media. This obliteration of the social has not led to a disappearance of sociology as a discipline, but has downgraded the importance of social theory within critical debates, read by most as a sign of the diminished size and importance of the welfare state, or other, let's say, state services that has diminished in the age of neoliberalism. Instrumental knowledge to manage the social is seen as necessary, but has also reduced its intellectual range to a closed circle of professional experts. So we could say that the social is now not something general, but has kind of shrunken and has become a task of a shrinking group of professional experts. Will the rise of social media, the topic of this conference, induce a renaissance of sociology? This is what I've been asking myself for a while now. Taking over from cultural studies and media studies would be good, in my view. But will it happen? Sociologists shouldn't limit themselves to pragmatic impact studies, in my view. Because what's in short supply are general designs of society. Web sociology, as it is named here, and there's someone here in Amsterdam working on this. His name is Albert Benschop. Maybe you have once or visited his site, called Social Site. So he's been working on this, and there are a few others. The web sociology that has freed itself of the real and virtual dichotomies, not limiting its research scope to social implications of technology, because the social implications of technology is what sociology has done so far. For instance, if sociologists think of internet, they will immediately start talking, for instance, about internet addiction. This is kind of their professional impulse. And as Eva Elders wrote to me in a correspondence we had about this issue, she writes, if sociology has traditionally called on us to exert our shrewdness and vigilance in the art of making distinctions, for instance, between use value, exchange value, life world, and the colonization of the life world, etc., the challenge that awaits us is to exercise the same vigilance in a social world which consistently defeats these distinctions. So it's also the Aufhebung of all these distinctions, which is something that we could say we are struggling with here. The most important one, of course, being the one between the public and the private. The social no longer manifests itself primarily as a class movement or mob, even though we would sometimes love to see that. We have a certain maybe desire for that. But the form in which the social expresses itself to us is the network as a real existing organizational mass practice. This is, in our age, its dominant shape. What counts are the social facts as they represent themselves through network analysis and its corresponding data visualizations. The container concept, social media, describing a fuzzy collection of websites from Facebook, Dig, YouTube, or Twitter, Wikipedia, or regional variations such as Hives in this country, is not a nostalgic project aimed to revive the once dangerous potential of the social as a mob. Instead, to remain inside Baudrillard's vocabulary, the social is reanimated as a simulacrum of its own ability to create meaningful and lasting social relations. It seems a brave but ultimately unproductive project to go online and look for the remains of 19th century European social theory. This is what makes the debate about Marx and exploitation, as is going on right now on the NetTime list, for instance, so tricky. What we need to do instead is to take the social as face value and remain from the well-meaning political intentions that we have ourselves. So to look at Facebook, for instance, beyond good and evil is quite a big undertaking. It's quite difficult because on the one hand we feel a certain disgust or desire, or we don't see the things. It kind of presents itself as a new collective unconsciousness. We cannot even describe the user interface of Facebook to a stranger because we have forgotten it. Even though we just spent 3 hours on it, we cannot. So it has completely entered. And this kind of also, of course, theorists I know and critics, they are not different in that respect. So there is a concerted effort to be made here to kind of step back and to see what's actually going on there, which I think is hard enough. And with that, I don't mean that we have to have an objective or neutral point of view on this. No, I more think of a very strange, distracted viewpoint. Let's say a more anthropological, maybe, viewpoint that could help us to actually study what the hell's going on there on this website. The social is not merely the digital awareness of the other you want to share something with, even though the importance of direct contact should not be underestimated. There needs to be actual interaction. This is the main difference between the old broadcast media and the current social network paradigm. And this is an important aspect. We need to further theorize still the difference between the active user who constitutes a new kind of subjectivity out there in comparison to the broadcast media as we know it. And even though we could say, well, maybe we have overcome the distinction between old and new media, it would be very nice. I think, yes, it would be great, but the reality, I think, is quite different. And for us, the theorization, I think, should also start there. And interpassivity is playing an important role there in comparison to interactivity. How do the two exactly relate to each other? I'm not going to go into that debate now, but that is one of the more interesting starting points there. And in this essay, I'm going further into that debate. With this emphasis on big data, huge amounts of data, all these sites generating, we can read the renaissance of the social in the light of sociology as the positivist science of society. As of yet, there is no critical school inside. Well, we could say, okay, unlike us, is trying very hard to bring together people in that direction. Yes, but on the whole, we can still see that society at large is still kind of overwhelmed and in hype mode when it comes to these social media. The term social has effectively been neutralized, Reborn as a cool concept in the media debate, the social manifests itself neither as dissident nor as subcultural. And the social organizes itself as a techno-cultural entity, a special effect of software which real-time feedback features prove addictive for many users. In the internet context, the social is neither a reference to the social question, obviously, nor a hidden reminder of some socialist or socialism as a political program. And the social is precisely what it pretends to be, a calculated opportunity in times of distributed communication. And it would be interesting, of course, to see, for someone, hopefully from the west coast of the United States, to kind of write a history of the social in relation to Silicon Valley. Because the term has a long history. It goes back already to the 1950s, and the birth of the social in the whole debate about the architecture of networks and software. It goes back a long time. But so far I have not really found very good texts that deal with this. Obviously there's virtual communities and stuff like that. But to analyze the use of the term and the way the term is shifted and has been neutralized time and again would be very, very interesting approach. Okay, I'll leave it there, and you can read, as I said, the text online. And now I'll briefly introduce Jody Dean, with whom over the years I've already had a long intellectual history of exchanges, collaborations. Jody is quite often here now in the Netherlands, and I think that's really